Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today I've taken another little break from my whole epic fantasy plan and I've read something a little bit different. And I've gone with, well, something that's quite prevalent at the moment. The big film that just came out was Wicked. It's the musical version and I decided I wanted to read the book. Now, I've got it here. Now this is actually an older version of the book. I've actually had this for a long time. There's a bit of a story behind this. I have mentioned in other videos that I have a background in performing, mainly in musical theatre. Now, Wicked was the first ever musical I saw on the West End. I saw it with a friend when I was about 18, so it was quite a while ago now, and I enjoyed it. It's not my favourite musical, but I very much enjoyed it. It inspired me to go on to do musical theatre. I then went to college, and for one of my assessments, I was asked to compare a musical to a book. So I bought this one. Back then I didn't finish it. I got about, I think it was about 100 or 150 odd pages or so in, and I stopped. I gave up. I couldn't do it, and I really struggled. I remember thinking it was quite wordy and very different from the musical. But with the new film coming out, I thought, why not give it another try? Let's get Wicked back out and see how it compares with the musical. I watched the film. It's a very good film. I enjoyed it very much. It's still Wicked. It's still very good. The book, how do I feel about this book? Was it good? No. Was it bad? Yes. I did still read it all though. So why did I not DNF it? Well, that's difficult to say. The premise behind Wicked is amazing. The whole idea of exploring the difference between good and wicked and how people become wicked or how they're perceived as wicked and seeing the rise and fall of the Wicked Witch is very interesting. And the world of Oz and seeing it in a more grown-up light than we're used to seeing in The Wizard of Oz, seeing the more political side of things, the not so crisp and clean, happy, rosy-cheeked Technicolor viewpoint of it is very interesting. The world is so interesting. I want to know about it. So I think that's why I kept going with this, because if I'm honest, this was a slog. This was really hard to get through. It's just shy of 500 pages. It's not the longest book I've read this year, but it's taken the most time. I think I took nearly 2 weeks off in the middle of it. It's difficult to pinpoint why I disliked it so much. Well, it's not, but at the same time, everything I say here could be really good points about the book. There could be such potential behind everything that I think has tried to be done with this book, but I just don't think it works. For the most part, we get it. It's in a few different sections. I think there's 4 or 5 sections in the book, and the first one being sort of the early life of Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, her being born and being raised. Then the second one is sort of her time in Shiz, which is sort of her college years, university years. Then we go off and there's her time in the Emerald City, eventually her time up in her fortress, and then what becomes her fortress, and then finally, essentially what happens in The Wizard of Oz, you've got what she's doing whilst Dorothy and everything else is there. All good things. There are some major time skips in the middle of it. I'm not opposed to time skips. I think they're great because sometimes we don't need to know everything that happens in every day of everyone's life. The problem is, we seem to miss some really big key points, and they're sort of glossed over and spoken about in shorthand, which again is fine. We don't need to know everything, but when a lot of the chapters that we're getting seem so devoid of anything but political discourse, it gets a bit tiresome and it gets really stale and difficult to read. There is a lot of political discourse in this, which is fine. I like that there are lots of different theologies and ideologies and things going on in Oz. He's got these competing factions, if you will, against each other, ideas that are trying to form themselves. This book touches on so many things that could be really interesting, or that sort of oppressive natures of people in power, animal cruelty, the roles of women in society, the perception of women as wicked, like all of these different things are touched upon, and I'm here for it. I'm like, yeah, cool, let's talk, let's get some ideas going. And we get some ideas going, but that's just it. There's just sort of ideas thrown, but in a really clunky, unnatural way. The dialogue is, it's so difficult to read. No one speaks like this, and I try and justify it by going, well, but it's a different land. It's not what I'm used to be speaking. It's not going to be modern speak or anything like that. But there are times when you'll have 2, 3, 4 characters in a conversation, in a scene, all seemingly spouting their own essay on the politics of the nature, but not necessarily listening to the other person. Just like they'll say one thing, the other person will reply with their own idea, and this person will continue their thought without having listened to this person. And it gets really like, okay, so what's going on, and why am I caring about this at points? Because it doesn't seem to flow. There's no real, oh yeah, I can imagine this being a real conversation. It's just sort of people spouting nonsense at each other, which could be meaningful, but I don't care to delve into it that much because it's all the time. And there's a lot of language that is used that just seems like you've been sat there with a thesaurus going, what's the best way to, oh, that's a nice word, yeah, I'm going to put that in. And it becomes very like, I've never seen, like I'm fairly well read. I've read quite a few books in my time, but there were words in here that I've never come across before that just halted the flow of reading. And I don't mind learning new words. I enjoy like looking up new words if there's once every now and then. But if I'm looking up new words 4 or 5 times a page, sometimes it can get really draining and really long-winded. And to the point where I stop caring to look them up, and I just go, I don't care what that is. I'm sure it probably means that. And I know I'm not as engaged anymore. Also, a lot of the characters are unlikable. And I don't mind characters being unlikable, but sometimes you want some redeeming qualities in people. It feels like they're all just not very likable and just not very... And I think the problem is all of these factors that I'm mentioning work against each other. If there was one of them that was, was just like, let's grab me hold and I can deal with that, I've got that. But all of them are a little bit like, okay, it's a shame that they're not there, but maybe there's something else. But there's nothing else that brings it up for me. It's only the premise that this could be good that kept me going. Other than that, it was a constant slog going, that's annoying, that's annoying, that's annoying. We would meet characters and go into deep dives into their ideologies, their political standings, everything they believe in, and you're like, okay, this is an important character, we're going to get to know them and we're going to carry this through. And then a couple of pages later they'd be gone and never to be seen again and would have no effect on the story at all. And you're kind of like, okay, that's fine, because sometimes people come in and out of our lives like that, and I get that this is Elphaba's life and different things happen as we're going along, but again, it's just another thing that's a disappointment in the long run of this entire book. Again, the time skips that we have jump across big things. Like there's one from the end of basically Elphaba's time at Shiz, and then her time when she's essentially becoming a bit of a freedom fighter, sort of an underground terrorist, if you will. And we just sort of join in the middle of that. There's this romance that happens that's stilted. That was quite stilted, the romance, purely because they, rather than building their relationship, it was just, again, a lot of political discourse that just sort of happened, and it almost felt like they were arguing almost all of the time. And we're meant to believe that but there's this spark, there's this burning something between them. But for the majority of the time, it just felt dry and boring and not that exciting. And I think, again, I kind of missed how that sort of ended. It was a bit, I suppose, it felt a bit 1984-esque in that moment where you've got this relationship going on and this sort of oppressive nature. And I could see the inspiration that came in for that moment and the unknown quantity of the ending between it and everything like that. But then we get another jump skip that happens, and it's kind of like, okay, so this has happened, and for 7 years she's been essentially a nun, and later on in the book there's more reveals about how for the first 2 years she had no idea what was going on. There's a potential child, and I don't want to go too depths because there's spoilers there, but I don't know if I honestly care because it's so convoluted at times. You're like, okay, so that's the thing that happened, and it's almost so unbelievable. But we're in a fantasy world, so I kind of try and let my disbelief go. It's fine. But yeah, it was really, really hard in those moments. One of the biggest things that I found hard is there's a weird sexualization in this book. And don't get me wrong, this book is an adult book. If you've watched the film, this is a warning. If you have watched the film or you've seen the musical and you took your son, your daughter, your child, whoever, and they loved it. They like the music. They're like, the Wicked Witch. This is cool. They're flying. It's amazing. Don't get them to read this. This is not for kids. Unless you want a bestial menage a trois with a tiger in a seedy club. And yeah, that's not it. There's lots more. It's sexual. But sometimes to the point where I don't think it needs to be. There was a line in particular. Hang on, I need to find this. Bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, found it. So, yeah, you have this weird sexualization of certain moments, and sometimes they can be quite jarring. And don't get me wrong, sometimes they can be used in that way for reasons. But sometimes it seems to be just thrown in there. Again, like the overly complicated words, sometimes there was these moments that happened and I was like, why has that been sexualized? I didn't understand. Maybe I'm missing a point. Maybe, and please let me know if I am missing something. And this is what I mean with this book. I kept reading this thinking, am I missing the point? Am I? So if I am, please let me know down in the comments, because I want to know what I'm missing, because maybe I can reread it again and see it in a new light. But there was one moment in particular that jarred massively. So, minor spoilers, there's a moment where Elphaba is in the fortress. I'll just use the general words. Is in the fortress, and this child that's sort of her ward has essentially drowned, and they found his body and they're trying to resuscitate him. So we get to this moment where she's about to do essentially mouth to mouth, and it says, she grimaced and nearly vomited and spit something into a bucket, and then she sank her mouth down on the child's and breathed out, pushing into the sour passage her own sour breath. Her fingers tensed at the sides of the butcher's block, gouging splinters as if in an ecstasy of sexual tension. Why are we referencing a sexual tension, an ecstasy of sexual tension? She's giving mouth to mouth to a child who was drowned and is nearly dead. I don't understand why we need to go into the sexual tension moment. And again, it repeats itself in that sort of nature. There are other moments where it's a bit like that. Again, this moment in the club where there's like an odd threesome with a tiger. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess, my only guess from it is it's this sort of insight into this is what the rich and powerful do on a whim. They go to these weird places and experience these things between what could potentially be, essentially could be downtrodden people, because at this point the animals, capital A, are being downtrodden, becoming other. So I guess that's the point of it. But the problem is it's a bit randomly thrown in there. It just sort of happens. It doesn't seem to naturally flow within the plot. And that's what happens in a lot of cases. There's so many things that could be good. Again, I can see the reasoning behind including a scene like that. It just doesn't seem to be very well paced or placed in the plot. It's not very cohesive. And if I'm honest, the craziest thing that I found out since I've read this book is there are 7 of these books. 7 of these books, and apparently this is the most cohesive and makes the most sense, and it blows my mind because I just wanted to finish. By the end, I just wanted to finish. I was done. I didn't want to know anymore, and it was a shame because I was really hoping that it was going to be good, and it's got such a good premise that it could have been really good, but for me, it's just not a good book. It gives me so much more respect for the makers of the musical, because they've taken elements of this book and distilled it down and made something that does do what I think this book is trying to do. Obviously in a slightly more watered down, family friendly Hollywood version. There are things in the musical that I'm like, okay, whatever. But it does the majority of what this is trying to do while still making it cohesive and understandable and fun to be a part of. This book, yeah, it's just a miss for me. I didn't DNF it, so I'm not going to 1-star it. I did finish it. It was hard. It was a slog. So for me, it's a 2-star. It's not great. I don't think I'm ever going to read the other books. Unless someone can convince me otherwise why I should give the other books a try, I think I'm going to stop here with them. I just don't think I can see it through. Yeah, it's a miss for me. Films, musical, great. See them, watch them, enjoy them. Take what you will, whether you love them or hate them, it doesn't really matter. The book, if you really like the film, you still might not like the book. It doesn't matter how much you like the film or the musical, you still might not like the book. But some people love it. It just wasn't for me. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. I'd love to hear them, especially if they're different from mine. Please let me know what I'm missing. Please like, subscribe, follow along for other reviews, and I will see you in the next review. Bye-bye.